Hey y'all, Iric Guy here, and this is how to upgrade to a tankless water heater affordably. Now, before I proceed, I want to encourage everyone after you've watched this video, if this video helped, please consider sending me a super thanks by clicking the thanks button down below this video. Not required, but if this video helped, that's a small token of appreciation that you can choose to send my way. Not required, but appreciated. So let's go ahead and jump right in and talk about the affordable way to upgrade to a tankless water heater. Now, what I'm going to say first, if you simply pick up the phone, you go to Google, or maybe you've got an old school phone book, you pull it out and you call somebody up and say, hey, do you install tankless water heaters? That's mistake number one, because typically if you go with a, let's just call it turnkey installation service where they sell you the tankless water heater, they sell you the labor, they sell you all of the hardware that's required for installation, they will probably profit handsomely. So the affordable way to do it, and we're going to break this down into a way that's hopefully easy for everyone to understand. Making sure I wasn't a brown recluse. For hopefully everyone to understand, regardless of your technical abilities. So the first thing you want to do is audit what's in your home. My assumption is that you probably have a tank water heater, the big tank. And then you need to determine, okay, is this a gas tank water heater or is this an electric tank water heater? Now, the easy way to do that is to look at the water heater itself, and there's probably a model number. Just take a photo of that with your camera phone and go to Google and search, and you'll probably be able to find by searching for the model number whether it's a gas or an electric tankless water heater, because that's going to heavily influence your next step's decision. Now, in my case, I had two tank water heaters, and both were gas. One was at one end of my basement, which provided hot water for the kitchen and the bathrooms on that side of the house. Tankless water heater number two was at the far end of my basement, which provided hot water for my other bathrooms. Now, something that people may not realize is that between the gas, and we're going to talk about a gas water heater for this example, but between the gas thing that's outside one's residence, walk outside, you'll see it's probably a metal looking thing, and that is optimally you would probably want to install your tankless water heater in close proximity of that exterior gas thing that your gas department provides. The reason being, this is opportunity number one for cost and labor. If someone decided to install a tankless water heater that's gas, but they placed it on the opposite side of their residence, there's a few things. There's going to be gas line that's going to have to be connected. Now, gas line is a metal type material, and you know how expensive metal is nowadays. So you've got the materials cost. And then obviously if you're going through a turnkey installer, they're going to mark up the materials. Then you got the labor hours for installing that longer gas run. So number one thing would be, okay, if you can, plan to install your tankless water heater in as close a proximity as possible to the gas department's thing on the outside of your house, the tank on the outside of the house that the gas department provides, because that's going to minimize the length of the natural gas pipe. And if there is any that has to be installed, if you're replacing a tank water heater, there's a good possibility that you may already have suitable pipe installed. But if not, if pipe does have to be added, it's probably going to be a much shorter piece of pipe, which translates to hopefully a lot less expensive materials cost. So that's the first thing that I want to caution everybody about with tankless water heater installation. Now that's the initial, okay, walking through your residence, looking where your tank or tank water heaters are, and then making the determination of where you would like to have the tankless water heater installed. Now there's another thing to consider. In the situation where someone has multiple water heaters, do you want to replace all of your tank water heaters with one tankless? Or do you just want to replace one? That's a decision you would make. Now in my case, what I did, I chose to replace both tank water heaters. One had failed, the other one didn't. But I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get rid of both of them. That should benefit me from an energy consumption perspective. You know, the monthly gas bill should be noticeably reduced because I've got one unit instead of two. But on top of that, the one unit that I have is a tankless water heater instead of a tank water heater. So I ought to observe noticeable savings on my monthly gas bill. So I went ahead and replaced both. But in my situation where I replaced both tank water heaters, since they were at opposite sides of the house, I did have to account for the cost of running a piece of pipe to connect hot water to all the sinks, to all the showers, to the kitchen, to everything. Because as it was initially configured, there were two tank water heaters and they were not physically connected. The good thing is, and this is my recommendation, you're probably going to find that once we get to the plumber talk here in a minute, that there's an option called PVC. PVC is a white, thick pipe. When you think of plumbing pipe, it's probably what you got in your mind. But the reality is there's now an option called Plex, which may be a lot less expensive for the materials. And especially if you're installing in a basement where the temperature is somewhat consistent and it's not subject to a radical amount of wear and tear, you may find that you may be able to save materials cost by using Plex pipe instead of PVC pipe. So now that we've talked about the initial, let's just call it your site walkthrough, walking through your house. Now that we've talked about that, and you've got in your mind what you would want to have happen and where you would want to have the pipe and this, that, and the other, now you've got to say, okay, well, what size unit, what size tankless water heater do I need? Now this particular one is a 9 gallon per, it's either 9 or 9.5 gallon per minute. Is it 9 or 9.5? I'd have to look, expand this video's description and click the link there. You can find a link to the unit exactly like I use. This is a natural gas tankless water heater. And what you want to do is count the number of sinks in your house. That's kitchen sinks, bathroom sinks. Count that. Then count the number of showers in your house. And then just come to let's call it a worst case scenario. You've got a house full of guests. Every shower in your house is in use. And there may be a sink in use, maybe a dishwasher, something like that. In a worst case scenario, how many people would be using water at the same time and where? So I'm not going to make this complicated, but you can, and check the links within this video's description. I'm going to provide some links. It's easy to estimate on your own. So in my case, this is my example. I guesstimated, okay, I've got worst case scenario. I mean, I've got 4 showers in the house. But in a real world worst case scenario, assuming that everybody chose to shower at the same time, I would probably have 3 of those 4 showers in use. So since I use, and this is where it gets a little bit different, check your shower head to see, most shower heads will say GPM, 1.5 GPM or 2.5 GPM or something like that. That's gallons per minute. So when that shower is turned on in its full position, the most pressure, that's how many gallons per minute of water are flowing through that shower head. So since mine are unrestricted, because I went in and subscribe, check out my separate video where I talk about how to remove the water flow restrictor from the shower head. So if you're like me and you've removed, or someone else has removed the water flow restrictor from your shower heads, that gallons per minute may be greater. So I guesstimated mine per shower at 2.5 gallons per minute. So 2.5 times 2 is 5, plus the third shower is 6, 7.5. So if all 3 of my showers were running at the same time, which is unlikely, that would be 7.5 gallons per minute out of my tankless water heater that's rated for, it's either 9 or 9.5, I forget. So that still leaves me 8.5. If this is a 9.5 gallon per minute, 7.5 plus 2 is 8.5, 9.5. So that leaves me 2 gallons per minute for a sink or something like that. You know, you can oversize your unit. I mean, if you want to have it, if you want to assume even a more worst case scenario, you can. But in reality, our day today is 1 shower at a time. So that's ballpark 2.5 gallons per minute. And then maybe a sink at a time. I mean, we're comfortably probably below 5 gallons per minute in most scenarios. You know, factor in your laundry, you know, your dishwasher, that sort of stuff. But it's easy to want to spend more and oversize your unit when in reality you probably don't need it. But don't undersize it, because if you undersize it during, you know, routine use, I mean, if I had let's say I had a 4 gallon per minute tankless water heater, that would be grossly undersized for me. But this 9 or 9.5 gallons per minute for me, according to my calculations, is great. And I've tested it in the real world. I've had 3 showers running, and I ran the kitchen sink, and I got continuous hot water with all of those faucets, the sinks and the showers at the same time. So I know it works. And that's one of the things you want to do on your own. Now, this is where it gets interesting, and this is where we get to the steps that I performed. And again, choose to follow the same process if you want to, and if you do, and you have a successful outcome, feel free to send me a super thanks, because you'll probably find that if you choose to send me that super thanks by clicking that thanks button down below, that it's probably going to pale in comparison to even the amount of what a service call might cost, just for some basic plumbing or whatever. So I would genuinely, not required, but I would genuinely appreciate your super thanks. Also, if you're shopping for a tankless water heater and the battery backup like I use, expand this video's description and then click the links there. And shop my links if you don't mind. I'd really appreciate it. And you can find the one just like I use, but also linked there, you can find the other size units. Now, there's a reason why I went with this particular brand. And we're going to talk about that, and then we're going to jump into the next phase of how to affordably upgrade to a tankless water heater solution. So I went with Rheem for several reasons. Number one, the unit itself I felt was very affordable. And again, you can find it, expand this video's description and click the link there to find current pricing. But I felt it was very affordable. And the other thing that sold me on the Rheem was the app, the EcoNet app. The EcoNet app is super cool. And I'm going to pull this up here so you can see for yourself the EcoNet app. And it is, it's super nice, because you can go into your water temperature, and once you're in there, you can adjust the temperature. By default, it's going to max out at 120 degrees, but you can set it to where you can toggle as high as 140 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's after subscribe, check out my separate video where I demonstrate from the keypad how to enable that. But by default, it's going to top out at 120. But like I said, this particular unit, you can set it to where it can go as high as 140. I use 130 degrees. I think it's great. So that, having the flexibility to adjust the water temperature of your tankless water heater is nice. The usage is what I really like. And by the way, at least at the time of filming this, there's no subscription fee required to use this EcoNet app. So I can look at my energy consumption. I can look at it on a weekly basis, monthly, yearly. You can see this week so far I've used 322 kBTU units of energy. So it's a great way to to keep an eye on my energy consumption, my gas consumption. Also water consumption. I can go there and I can view weekly. So this week so far, I've used 420 gallons of water. So those are just, and there's scheduling in here. Subscribe, check out my separate video where I dive into the Rheem EcoNet app in depth. This is just a quick highlight why I like it. I can adjust the temperature by way of my phone from anywhere. You know, as long as I've got internet, I can adjust and I can monitor water and gas consumption. Those are the big selling points for me for having chosen this brand and model of tankless water heater. Now this one, and I do want to remind everyone, the one I have linked within this video's description, this one here, it has the integrated Wi-Fi. Not all of the Rheem tankless water heaters do, so be sure to check the link within this video's description to find the one like I'm using that has the integrated Wi-Fi. So I went with this because of the app features, the price, and then also there's a warranty. Now I'm not quoting warranty stuff within this video. You check the warranty if you decide to purchase, see all those details. But I feel reasonably confident that my investment with this will be protected for probably 15 years, which is phenomenal when you look at the price point of this unit. And this unit I think is even suitable for an outdoor installation. My best recommendation would be to consider indoor installation if you're in a place like I am where it can be vented. This being a natural gas tankless water heater, it has to be vented to the outdoors. But if you're in a situation where you can install it indoors and have it properly vented, optimally, the tank water heater that you're replacing was vented. So hopefully your tankless water heater can be used to vent through those, the existing holes and minimize the installation effort. So this is how I got to this is how I made the decision. Now, this wasn't a willy-nilly decision. I researched this for weeks. So what you're hearing from me within this video now is the product of weeks worth of exhaustive research. Number one, trying to get the best quality. Number two, trying to get the best price for the unit. And then also the best price for the installation. So we talked about the hardware. Now you're also going to want to pick up a battery backup because if your power goes out, this is going to turn off even though it's natural gas. The good thing is the battery backup is super affordable. And I've linked the battery backup like I use for my tankless water heater within this video's description. So now you've sized your unit, worst case scenario, house full of guests, multiple showers in use at the same time. You've sized your unit, you've checked the link within this video's description, you've added whatever size unit of tankless water heater to your cart. You've also added the battery backup to your shopping cart. And now, you feel like you've got the essentials of what's needed from a tankless water heater perspective, the unit itself and the battery backup. So now comes the fun part. This is where a lot of people mess up. Now see, you're already ahead of the game because you've chosen to purchase the tankless water heater and the associated battery backup ahead of time. So you've got the equipment. So now you're in the driver's seat. So you can do a few things. You can go through a Google search. You can find tankless water heater installers in your area. You can call them and say, hey, this is so-and-so. Do you install tankless water heaters? Obviously, you feel like they probably do because you found them on Google and it said tankless water heater installer. And they say yes, and be like, okay, do you install customer supplied tankless water heaters? If they say no, hey, thanks for your time, appreciate it, bye-bye. And then call the next plumber until you find the ones that will install the customer supplied tankless water heater. And the reason I say this is that a lot of tankless water heaters installers will only install the tankless water heater if you bought it from them. And the reason is they mark up the cost of the hardware and then they also hit you with the labor, so they make a lot more money. In this scenario, you've already purchased the tankless water heater. You've already purchased the affordable battery backup. And that's another area where people get you, oh, you need what if your power goes out? They're going to charge you for battery backup for tankless water heater. Just like a boat. If you've ever owned a boat and it's marine, whatever. just putting the word marine in whatever boating accessory jacks the price up. It's just a word. And they do the same thing with tankless water heater battery backup, whereas in reality, if the battery backup is sufficiently sized, if the power goes out to keep tankless water heater going, that's all you need. You don't need tankless water heater battery backup. So that's another area where they will try to get you. Now, a lot of the installers, and I'm not going to bash any tankless water heater brands. I'm just going to send this Ream tankless water heater brand praise because, again, subscribe to my channel, check out my tankless water heater videos playlist, see the EcoNet app, see all the ins and outs of the tankless water heater. That's beyond the scope of this video. This video is just educating people on how to affordably install a tankless water heater, how to affordably upgrade to a tankless water heater. But a lot of these installers are going to install a few big brands, and if you research the brands that they install, you'll probably find that the app experience, even if it exists, it's not that robust, not user-friendly. So there's a lot of cool tech you're getting with this, plus the affordable price and the warranty. And again, check the warranty before you purchase this, look at all those details. But the reality is buying this tankless water heater and the battery backup, like I have linked within this video's description, is savings number one. So, you've called around, you've called all these installers, you've found a few people that do install customer-provided tankless water heaters. Okay, of those, do you provide a free quote? Because what you don't want to do is start any sort of installation like this without a quote up front. So that would be they come to your place of residence, they walk through, and on paper, get an email if you can, that's preferred. On paper, you've got a quote. To install the tankless water heater will cost X amount, and be sure that that amount takes into account any piping that may be required, any sort of, in the case of gas and plumbing work, make sure that it's all inclusive, gas and plumbing. It's turnkey. In other words, that quote, there shouldn't be anything beyond that from a cost perspective. That quote, if you choose to move forward with that provider, would, when they walk away, you've got a functional tankless water heater, everything connected and no additional charges. Because often what will happen, even with some of the more reputable plumbing companies, they will find convenient ways to run up the clock. Oh, they forgot a part, or oh, they've got to research something, or oh, there's a leak, or whatever. Don't leave any room for them to run up the clock, because most plumbers charge well over $100 US an hour. So don't leave any opportunity to run up the clock. Get that quote in writing. And, if they're on a recorded line and all that, whatever, get that as thoroughly documented as possible so that if you choose to go through with that provider, that, you're guaranteed to get a complete installation without any, them trying to milk you over for more money. And be transparent about it. Once you get the quote, hey, I appreciate the quote, and because they're going to ask you, they're like, are you ready to set an installation date? No, I'm ready. I really appreciate the quote. I'm going to check with a few other providers. I just want to make sure this is the best deal. Now, see what that does. That provides them with the immediate opportunity to say, well, let me check with my manager and see what I can do. And more than likely, what's going to happen, they're probably going to call you back within a few hours, or maybe even on site. They may walk out to their van or truck or whatever and call and be like, well, what if we could reduce this by $200 installation? Would you be willing to book with us today? So be prepared for that sort of response. So that's option one if you're going through mainstream local plumbers that install tankless water heaters. To recap, make sure they will install a customer provided unit. Make sure that they will provide a free quote up front. So no cost for them to come to your house, because a lot of times for a plumber, a service call, even if they do nothing, just to show up at your doorstep greatly exceeds $100 US. So make sure up front before anybody's dispatched that is a free quote, that you won't pay anything for the quote, and that there is no obligation to move forward if you get the quote and you don't like it. So protect yourself. Now, option 2, and unfortunately I didn't have this option, but you may. If you know people that plumb, if you know people that plumb, if you know plumbers and you know gas people, if you can talk to them, and I mean, it's a matter of how you frame this question. But if you talk to them and you just say, hey, I understand if you don't, that's fine. It doesn't matter. But do you moonlight with plumbing work? And you will probably find that a large percentage of plumbers and a large percentage of gas people will say, oh, most definitely. Because if they want to make money, and if you ask them if they moonlight, probably what's going to happen is say, yes, here's my schedule, after work, could I do it this day, or whatever. So after you've gotten those quotes from the big plumbers, in writing, email, whatever, once you've gotten those, then that provides you with a baseline, because you know that if you go with a big plumbing service in your area, that's what you're going to pay. So then what you can do is find somebody that moonlights, and at their convenience, don't force them, don't make them feel rushed, because you shouldn't be in a rush. You're upgrading to a tankless water heater from a tank water heater. So you've got hot water. There's no sense of rush. I know you want it because it's cool and it's fancy and it's fun to fiddle with, but don't rush. Let them come out at their convenience. Provide a walkthrough. Is it something they would be interested in doing? If so, just ask the question. How much would you charge me to do this? And they're going to tell you the dollar amount. And then in your mind, you already know what the dollar amounts were from the big plumbing people that provided quotes in writing. And if it comes in below that, you're golden. If it comes in grossly below that, you may want to be nice and say, well, in all fairness, that sounds good, but how about I give you, a few extra $100 just to sweeten the deal? Because you don't want to treat somebody in a shady fashion. The reality is that these people that are moonlighting, they work a full-time plumbing job, but in that job, their employer takes most of the profits. So as a customer like you that's wanting to install a tankless water heater on a budget, if you go through those big places, you're probably paying a premium because you're paying the company and then their installers. Whereas in the case of somebody that moonlights, you're getting a super discount. It's probably going to be a cash only type deal, I would assume, because they're moonlighting. They don't want to advertise that they're doing side work or whatever. But that's an option. So you've got two options. You've got the big plumbing company, but again, make sure you've got that quote in writing, and no opportunity for enhanced charges. Got to make sure that's all documented up front, documented and understood up front. Because if there's any opportunity for extra charges, believe me, they will do anything they can to make more money. It's called capitalism. But, so you found your installer, that's great. Now, what you need to do ahead of then, and this is something that they should do. I think I still got the shrink wrap on. Is there a little shrink wrap piece on that? Yeah, it's on there. I need to get that off. But something they should do is coordinate with, as in the case of natural gas, natural gas tankless water heater, they should coordinate with their gas friend or gas department or whatever. Make sure that you talk to the installer to ensure that, hey, on this agreed upon installation date, just to confirm, you will have all resources available to complete the job on that day for this dollar amount, correct? Get that in writing, confirmed. Because what you don't want to have happen is have a plumber show up, but then there's not a gas guy. Or vice versa. Gas guy shows up, there's not a plumber. You want to make sure you've got all hands on deck to complete the tankless water heater installation in its entirety during that agreed upon day. No questions asked. And, once you've done that, you've got, of course, you've ordered your tankless water heater and your battery backup ahead of the agreed upon installation date. order it comfortably ahead of the installation date, because you want to make sure that before you book that installation date that you have the unboxed tankless water heater in your possession and the unboxed battery backup in your possession. Now the battery backup, you don't even have to throw that out to the installer, because they're going to want to try to charge you to install it. Subscribe to my channel, check out my separate video, how to connect a tankless water heater battery backup. I mean, it is so simple that if you can plug in a lamp, you can probably plug in a battery backup. So don't even mention that. That's just an opportunity for an installer to enhance the price of installation. So just keep your battery, have your battery backup, but have it in a separate room where they don't see it. Now be prepared for this. You know, once you found the installer you plan to use, they're going to say, well, they're going to ask all these questions, because then they're going to be wanting to charge you more hours for more services and potentially sell you some pieces of equipment. The one thing they're going to do, well, have you thought about a recirculation pump? Have you thought about a recirculation pump? So essentially in a larger house, like mine's pretty big from here, from where I'm standing to the sink, I mean, it's a long haul. But there is a brief delay. When you first turn on the hot water, I mean, it may take 30, 45 seconds or so before it reaches the kitchen sink. But once it's reached it initially, as long as I turn it back on within about a 5-minute period, the hot water is still on. This is on demand. It detects a faucet open, whether it's a shower, kitchen sink, or whatever, then it starts to provide hot water. When there's no faucet on, this isn't it's ready, but it's not heating. So that initial heating takes a little bit. And then also the length of the pipe, once this is heated up, based upon how far that faucet, shower, whatever is from your tankless water heater, the initial power on may take, 45 seconds or so. I mean, just be ready for that, depending upon the distance. But like I said, in the case of hand washing dishes, once you've turned it on and waited that initial 45 seconds or so and it's hot, if you turn it off as you grab a dish and put it away and then turn it back on, as long as that doesn't span 5 minutes or more, that hot water is probably already going to be at that faucet. So it's just the initial turn on. What the installer is probably going to encourage people to buy is a recirculation pump. Oh, this just makes the hot water faster, blah, 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 blah. The reality is you're incurring more costs for the recirculation pump, and then you're incurring more labor hours for them to install it. And on top of that, and I'm not saying you may not want a recirculation pump. I'm not trying to steer you away from it. I do not have a recirculation pump. And mine wasn't just because of the cost of the pump, the cost of the additional cost for the labor to install the recirculation pump, but mine was energy savings. I don't want something running all the time. One of the value adds of going with a tankless water heater is that it's on-demand hot water, meaning that if I don't have my kitchen sink on, if I don't have my shower on, this is not heating water, and that's what I want. I don't want to increase my energy consumption. I want to reduce my energy consumption as much as possible, because monthly, that's less dollars out of my pocket to pay for gas. I don't want to pay for that. I mean, got to pay for gas, natural gas, but I don't want to pay more than I have to. I'm just trying to save money, just like I'm trying to save everybody money by stepping through this in a granular fashion. And speaking of that, any questions or comments you have, please post your questions and/or comments below, because I'll be more than happy to try to address those within follow-up videos. But so you've got your installation, you've got your installer set, you know the installation date, you've got your tankless water heater, and you've quietly got your battery backup for your tankless water heater hidden where they can't see it. And then the installer comes. So it's the installation day. So you're there. Keep a casual eye on what's going on. Before the installation starts, just, okay, so here's my quote. You're comfortable, you got everything you need. There's no missing people that need to be here to assist you with performing the job. there's no materials that are missing, you've got everything you need. Confirm that up front, because you don't want to leave any opportunity for them to try to enhance the charge, because you've got the agreed upon amount. You want to make sure that you've already agreed that everything is in there, but you want to reconfirm before they start working that everything's there. There's no surprises. Get that out of the way. That way, if there is a surprise, well, they told you that there wouldn't be, and you're not going to pay for their mistake. So, I mean, go ahead and set that expectation up front. Once the installation completes, I would not have the installer attempt to set up your, if you get the water heater like I do, the one linked within this video's description, I would not even ask them to set up the wireless. But what I would encourage you to do after the installation is complete, a few things. Don't even mention the wireless. They don't even need to know that it exists. Go through the house, turn on all the faucets, make sure hot water arrives at all the faucets and it stays hot, and then turn on multiple faucets at one time, because you should have sized your unit to accommodate what I referred to as the worst case. So what I did, I turned on 3 showers. They were all hot. They all remained hot. And then on top of that, I turned on the kitchen sink just to make sure that I could have, worst case scenario, 3 people showering at the same time with unrestricted flow shower heads. So, some showers that have a shower head, they may not be as many gallons per minute as mine. But mine were worst case. I mean, the unrestricted shower heads, about 2.5 gallons per minute, and then a kitchen sink. So I was able to accomplish in my residence exactly what I needed to. The water was hot, turned the water off. Okay, we're good. I did a site walkthrough with the installer. I wanted to make sure that, that everything looked good. Now, I noticed a few minor things with mine, where they had the vent, because a natural gas tankless water heater is vented to the outdoors. There was a gap around where the pipe was. Now, there wasn't room for a rodent or anything like that to go in, but I just said, hey, this could look better. So they sprayed that foam stuff in there and made it, a really professional and finished look. I don't want anything that's unfinished. I mean, I'm the customer. I'm always right, and I've spent a lot of money. Even though I haggled and got the best deal, I've spent a lot of money for this installation. It needs to be 100%. So just put eyes on everything. Make sure everything is, lined up. You don't want, if they've mounted it on the wall and it's kind of crooked, even though that's cosmetic, it's going to drive you nuts. So make sure that everything is level. Make sure it's just a clean installation. Visually inspect. Make sure there's no leaks. You don't want leaks anywhere, especially after you paid to have something installed. Sniff around. Make sure there's no gas odor. A gas leak could be deadly. Make sure there is not a gas leak. Likewise, go outside the residence where the city gas connects. Sniff around. Make sure there's no gas that's able to be diagnosed with the nose, because gas is deadly. Natural gas is deadly. Just do your due diligence. I mean, you've paid to have this installed. Your tankless water heater should make you 100% happy, because once they leave, man, it's a done deal in their eyes. So make sure that you've done everything in your power to make yourself feel confident that everything works as expected. And then, obviously, before they leave, okay, here's my quote. No, actually, I wouldn't even pull a quote out. I would say, okay, I'm ready to pay you. So go ahead and pay them as soon as everybody's signed off on the fact that everything looks good, it's functional. Pay them. If they say, oh, that's X amount, and it comes in higher than what's on the quote, nope. Here's the quote. This is what we agreed upon. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot. I was somebody else I was thinking about, and theirs was $200 more. Oh, no problem. Just want to make sure we're both on the same page here, and pay them exactly what was agreed upon. They leave. Make sure that you get a receipt, especially if you're paying cash, that you get a receipt confirming that services were paid in full. That way they've got documentation that they were paid in full, and you've got documentation that you were paid in full. Because in the case of going through a large plumbing company and they have an accounting mistake in their office and they think that customer was charged or customer paid, but the customer actually didn't, or vice versa, you just want to make sure that you're protected, that when that installer leaves your house, that there's documentation in their hands that they've been paid, and there's documentation in your hands that you paid them. Nothing else should be required. When they leave, that's it. If they want to park in your driveway and sit out there and read Gone with the Wind in a plumbing van for 5 hours, they can do whatever they want to, as long as you're cool with them on your property. But they're not running up your bill because you've paid in full. They're done and you're done, and the project is complete. So you can pat yourself on the back. If you like a good mixed drink, you can mix you up a rum and coke, or just get you a natty light or two and celebrate, because the project's complete. Once you're in a positive frame of mind, because these installations are inevitably mentally taxing, but once you feel good again, take your time and pair the EcoNet app with your Rheem wireless. Pair the Rheem EcoNet app with your tankless water heater. So you can subscribe, ring that bell, check out my separate video where I demonstrate step-by-step how to pair the app. Definitely do that on your own. Don't ask anyone else to do it, because they're going to charge you for the effort hours to do it. The reality is it's simple. Pair that. And actually, even before I paired the app, I would go ahead and connect the battery backup that was purchased for your tankless water heater. Go ahead and plug that in. Let your tankless water heater power back on with the battery backup connected, and then pair your app. And then if you need to, and again, subscribe, check out my separate video where I demonstrate this. It's going to max out at 120 degrees by default. If you need the ability to go as hot as 140 degrees, check out my separate video where I show you how to do that. But I hope this video helped. I wanted to get into all of the minutia, because these are things that people may not think about if they're trying to affordably upgrade to a tankless water heater. Upgrading to a tankless water heater does not have to be an expensive journey. If you follow these steps, and sure, there's going to be labor costs. You can't control that. But at least you can control, number one, the equipment that you purchase, the tankless water heater and the battery backup. That's in your control. Check the link within this video's description. You may find that there's 6 or 12 month financing deals or whatever. I mean, check the link within this video's description to see if that's available. But I'm saying that because with a large purchase like this of equipment, it may be something like, oh, well, if there's an opportunity to stretch it out over the course of many months, that's nice, because then you're not getting hit with this somewhat large cost in one transaction. So just something else to consider. And definitely with the installer, something I didn't mention earlier, you're probably going to get a better price if you pay cash, because the trend now, whether it's a big plumbing business or somebody that moonlights with plumbing services, they're probably going to preference cash, because if a card's charged, there's transaction fees, and they've got to pay. So and that actually is a good point, because when you get that quote, and like I said, ultimately let them know that you're exploring other installers to see what their quotes come in at, because once they come back and try to, which they probably will, offer you that other quote, then you can follow up, oh, well, thanks for coming down $200 or whatever. By the way, what if I paid cash only? Oh, well, we'll give you the cash discount, because, see, there's another opportunity for savings with the tankless water heater installation. Now, I don't want y'all to think after watching this video that I'm trying to be cheap and, be the guy that nickel and dimes everybody. That's one way that this video could be interpreted. The reality is, for me, and I won't speak specific numbers, But for me, and you can see it linked within this video's description, the price for the tankless water heater and the battery backup. At the time I purchased it, I got both for way below $2,000 US. So my equipment was comfortably below $2,000 US. And my installation, and again, this could vary, not too much over $1,000 US. So all in, I was comfortably below $4,000 US. I challenge you, when you call these places, the ones that don't offer installation of the customer provided equipment, I challenge you just for fun to call one of the leading places, have them come out for a free quote. You may want to do this. You may want to do this initially just to humor yourself. Call somebody out, before they come out, make sure they provide free quote. And just say, hey, schedule a time for you to come out, look at my residence and tell me, A, can I install a tankless water heater, and B, how much would it be, labor and everything. Just play dumb. You don't know anything. You didn't do any due diligence up front. And just see what that quote comes back at. And I'm willing to guess that quote, all in, they do everything, provide tankless water heater and installation and all materials. That quote's probably going to comfortably exceed $7,000. And you may see that quote as high as $15,000 or so. I mean, it is absurd how much these things can cost if you don't do your due diligence up front, if you don't do what I did to get the most affordable installation possible. And in closing, the best part about this is that I have on my wall in my basement right now exactly what I wanted. The exact tankless water heater unit that I wanted, and it's installed and functioning 100% right here in my basement. So I mean, I've got exactly what I wanted, and I saved a ton of money. And you check your own warranty, but after I read the warranty that came with mine from the unit, not from the installer, there was no warranty there because it was a customer provided product. So that's something to be aware of. But if this thing lasts even a few years, I mean, I've gotten a good deal, because I mean, the price is super affordable. And if it ever messed up and it wasn't, say I got into, hopefully I wouldn't encounter a warranty problem, because Rheem seems to be a reputable company. And I was impressed with the warranty that I received with this on paper. But if I got into a situation where I was haggling with Rheem, let's say hypothetically 6 years down the road, something goes belly up and this thing just goes kaput, and they're not standing behind their warranty like they should or whatever. Well, let's say worst case scenario, I had to buy another one. The good thing is, once this has been installed, if this ever died and had a warranty issue that I couldn't fight my way through, everything's already there. At that point, it's just having an installer, hey, my tankless unit died, how much would you cost to pull out and then put in the replacement? And I would just go with the same, whatever the current model was, that's similar form factor, and in theory, that should be a super inexpensive installation task if you ever had to have the tankless water heater replaced in the future. So, I didn't look at today. I look going forward, the potential cost of replacement if they didn't stand behind their warranty up to the 15 years as I would hope. So I've got my plan B. I have exhaustively researched this. So, I mean, there is, anything can go belly up. I mean, as far as I know, this thing could go kaput right now. That's just how karma works. But one thing that's not going to happen, I'm never going to look back and say, hey, I paid too much for the equipment and I paid too much for the installation. No, it wasn't cheap. But what I've gotten is what I feel is a good deal. And more importantly, that deal is sweetened, because now, instead of having 2 tank water heaters, I've got 1 tankless water heater that only heats the water when a faucet's open and it's supplying hot water. So I ought to observe the energy savings, the gas, and then also water. Because with a tank water heater, you got that tank that's always filled up with water. So my water bill is probably going to be less, a little bit less. And my gas bill is probably going to be noticeably less. So again, if this video helped, expand this video's description and click the link there to find the tankless water heater like I use, also other sizes, and the battery backup like I use. If you shop for that through my links, it's deeply appreciated. It helps us support videos like this one. Also, if this video helped, send me a super thanks. Not required, but I spend a lot of time sharing my knowledge with you. And if you choose to send me a super thanks by clicking that thanks button down below this video, that would be awesome and deeply appreciated. Not required, but if you do, if you buy the water heater, the battery backup, and you send me a super thanks, I will have to post a video response personally thanking you for being so polite. So appreciate your viewership. Again, hope this video helped. Be sure to subscribe, ring that bell when you do to be notified whenever I post another video, and check out my tankless water heater videos playlist. I've got a lot of videos, including this one in there now, and a lot more tankless water heater videos coming soon. If you have any tankless water heater video questions, comment below and I'll try to post a video response. Best of luck with your tankless water heater journey, because it is a confusing ride to get installed, but once installed, it's awesome. Non-stop hot water and energy savings. Thanks for your viewership. Y'all have a good day. Hey y'all, Irix Guy here. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please be sure to subscribe to my channel, and when you do, ring that bell icon to be notified whenever I post another video. Thanks for your viewership, and y'all have a good day.